that in mind, we might jump into the Tears sort of spoilers. I think we've seen almost all of them at this stage.
So we've officially seen about half of them, but there were a few other ones that were revealed outside of FFG. So they're well known out and about, but weren't part of the official releases.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna go off what's on 5 Rings DB, and if the stuff is wrong, we can blame them.
Perfect.
Great. Thanks to Card Game DB for the awesome resource that we use extensively. We don't blame you at all. We love you. Alright, so shall we have a quick run through and just do our little sort of discussion of the cards, see what we like, what we don't like. And yeah, so let me do that. Okay. Let's start with the 2 neutral provinces. So we've got Blood of Onotangu, a 3 strength fire province, which is Seeker roll only. So that is I haven't got my cheat sheet. Who's that?
So Seeker is Crane, Dragon, Scorpion.
Right. So during conflicts at this province, each player cannot spend fate from his or her fate pool. Justin, any thoughts on Blood of Onotangu?
I'm pretty underwhelmed, I gotta say. I think when you're looking at these, you have to compare them to the other fire provinces that exist. And I suppose at the moment, the flagship fire province is Meditations of the Tao, or Meditations on the Tao.
Yep.
And this just doesn't stack up against Meditations. For a start, you've got a strength of 3, which is very, very low. So it doesn't take a lot of effort. Like there are an awful lot of characters that can simply walk into this and break it without any assistance whatsoever. The ability it provides, I mean, potentially, it's another card that maybe in 6 months or a year's time may be much, much better. But right now, the fact that you have so little control over what your fate deck, or over what your conflict deck is composed of, and the cards that you draw and what your opponent is playing, means you could flip this while you have a handful of cards that cost fate to play and your opponent doesn't, and this province hurts you and helps them and does nothing to impede them. So for now, I think it's binder fodder, and Meditations will continue the general fire province of choice, with Night Raid seeing play in specific builds. I just don't see this doing anything for a while. The meta's too young. The meta's too underdeveloped for a card like this to really have any kind of impact.
Okay, Baz, any further thoughts? Or you?
Nah, I very much agree. It limits defensive options as much as it limits attacking options. And typically with 3 province strength, there already is going to be enough on the board to take that province. I'm not seeing this going anywhere. It is notable that it is Seeker only. So if one of it means Dragon, if they want to, could run 2 of them, or like a Blood of Onotangu with something else. But Dragon have access to Mirumoto's Fury, so why would they?
Yeah.
Okay. I think Eoin is dead or engaged, so we'll skip. Let's hope the latter. We'll skip him. And Baz, maybe you can look at the. I guess I was going to say sister, but that's probably quite incestuous to call it a sister card. The Tears of Amaterasu. Yeah, not maternal.
Nailed it, Colm.
Yeah. Just cards, look, talk.
So this is another shrine, which doesn't mean anything yet, but might eventually mean anything. It is keeper roll only, which for a province is a little bit more restrictive, since you're only going to have one of the elements. The element is void, which puts it in the hardest class of provinces to meddle with. I personally am a big fan of Pilgrimage, but it's also facing up against Shameful Display, so that's going to be pretty rough. It is more fate. So after this province is revealed, gain 1 fate for each attacking character. Scorpion could, in theory, play it, and if when it gets revealed, they'll get their void from their role, and then they'll get a number of additional void, or sorry, additional fate equal to the number of attackers, which could be kind of cool. But yeah, they would at that stage would be competing with Pilgrimage, I guess. So I guess it could be an option for them. I'm not sure any of the other keeper clans would be interested. Who do we have? We've got Crab, Unicorn.
Travis points out the Scorpion can't run that as it is a keeper only.
Ah, of course. Good point. Oh god, this card gets worse and worse and worse. Yeah, so it's okay. Which clans can run it? So we've got Keeper Void is Unicorn, Keeper Bird is Crab, Phoenix aren't ever going to run it.
Oh, and can you just mute while you're not talking?
No problem.
It's a bit of background noise. Cheers. But
so yeah, Phoenix are never going to run it because they're always going to be running Shameful Display. Or as a second choice, Kurimori, I guess one or the other, but never this.
Justin shaking his head.
Would Lion like it? They could get a bit of fate out of it. I don't know. Maybe again. Yeah, it's just so hard for it to squeeze in anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a terrible. It's not Blood of Onotangu levels. It may find play in the right deck, something that's hungry for resources and has keeper, but it's not stellar, but it's viable at least. It's just that Void Province is a really hard slot to batter yourself into.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Night Raid and Manicured Gardens had a love child, and it just took the worst elements of both, and it's just poor. There's nothing more to say about it. They're both underwhelming provinces.
Owen, did you have any thoughts on the two provinces, Blood of Onotango or Tears of Amaterasu, if I can say it?
Impressed with me though.
Yeah.
They're not. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing at all. They're competing with things that are just better, and I don't know. I know what they're for. I was a bit concerned, and then I saw some of the other spoilers that were knocking around that we aren't going to discuss. So it's clear that like all provinces, new provinces, aren't going to be terrible. So that's something.
Okay. Maybe while you're here and before you have to get called to a gate, we could look at the crab ones. Get your view of those on so Corrado District, holding with +1 province strength, limit of 1 per deck. Is that a unique holding? Sorry, I'm just that symbol.
It is unique, but it is also 1 per deck.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's like by definition unique. Action: give an opponent 1 fate. Choose an attachment on a character that player controls. Take control of that attachment and attach it to an eligible character you control, otherwise discard it. So a little bit like calling in favors as a holding.
Yeah, it's a hyper swingy card. It's incredibly powerful in the right matchup, and it's really, really good, but it's going to be so random about whether you get it out or not. I would be very interested to see if they put in a tutor for holdings into Crab's arsenal or not. And I think it'll be a good card anyway. I think people will throw it in the deck. And if you're using Rebuild, it's just an amazing toolbox thing to have in your discard pile. Pardon me, but it's got to get there first. So that's the problem with it. But it's incredibly strong. The ability to steal some of the attachments which might come into the game when the Dragon Splash becomes a little less attractive. And half the field is main decking 3 let go, and you start seeing Sashimonos or Jade Tetsubos or something like that. It's going to be huge, but like for the moment, it's going to be very swingy, and we'll have to see if it has its effect. I think it'll show up in some games and be a monster, and show up in other games and just get discarded. So
yeah,
we shall see.
It seems a little bit like a lot of games. It's going to be a deterrent as much as it's an effective card. It's sort of just play attachments at your peril.
Yeah, I I mean, even when it's basically give your opponent a fate, get +4 military or +4 political effectively, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
So, it will see play. Regardless of anything else, it will see play.
And then Staunch Hida, a Bushi Yojimbo, cost 2 and 2 military zip political or dash political with 1 glory. Reaction: after this character wins conflict as a defender, resolve the ring effect of that conflict as if you were the attacking player. Max 1 per conflict. Thoughts on?
If she was 0 political, I think she'd be my favorite crab personality. She's not, but because of the fact that one of the biggest problem crab have is they don't have 2 cost personalities, she's going to go straight into decks, and she's quite effective because she lets you get value on the defense, which is the big thing missing from crab's defensive deck. You can defend all day. I won battles so many times, but didn't get anything from it because I wasn't getting a ring really. And the ability to resolve a ring when someone comes into you means that stuff like intimidating Hida becomes better, because a crane deck, Scorpio deck can't just go, we'll throw away a challenge that we know we're going to lose against crab, who'll just block and win, and whatever, doesn't matter. And they just get a ring, it's fine. I'll leave 1 guy bowed, or I'll get 2 rings as well, and it'll be fine. So it's crucial. She's absolutely crucial to the deck working at all. So she's a very, very important card. The zip politics lets her down a lot. I understand why it is. She's understated for her cost, but she's a really powerful effect, so she's going to see a lot of play for that reason.
Yeah. Okay, great. So maybe let's jump then to Crane. Well, maybe you guys, Baz, just any thoughts on the 2 crab cards, Corrado District and Staunch Hida?
Corrado District's amazing. I think it's wonderful. I think it will, it's every chance of being just a perennial inclusion in every crab deck ever, because the effect is just that powerful. And the Staunch Hida, I've kind of so many mixed feelings about the Staunch Hida. Like she's absolutely the kind of effect that crab really need to make their defensive prowess really pay off. But it's effectively 1 conflict per turn, which is probably why she does have dash political, because if you had 2 of them on the table facing into that in 2 conflicts could be a really horrifying prospect. I mean, again, crab needs cheap personalities, but at the same time, I do wish that for this ability, it was on a 3-cost character, so it was out of assassination range. She fills I don't know, she half fills a hole. What's half a hole? She half fills a hole for crab at the moment, and I really hope we see more effects like this for crab to really give their defensive abilities teeth, because that's one of the things they're missing right now.
Baz?
I'm not as sold on Corrado District. I know I'm playing Dragon, so I should be more afraid of it, but I think there are problems already with the number of holdings in the crab decks, and I think this needs to be in an environment where every time it comes up, it's going to be useful for you. So I'm not expecting it to see play. As Owen's saying, if you can get some way of getting it at the right time, that would be great. The Staunch Hida is an interesting one. I mean, we were already briefly talking about the issues at that 2-cost slot. Like, looking at it, you've got the Haruma Yojimbo who can't attack. You've got the Shrewd Yusuke who doesn't draw cards unless you have a holding, and you've got the Vanguard Warrior who I think is kind of excellent. But the Staunch Hida, while good, isn't contributing to political effects, only triggers on the defense. Again, you're hitting even more kind of conditions and limitations that might make it easier to work around crab than we'd like. So I think it does put a lot of limitations on that 2-cost slot, but she looks decent. Yeah, so I mean, it's good to see something. But if she'd been a 0, I think I would have preferred to see her as a 0. Should be at least have the option of 2 conflicts, and if you want to defend in political conflict, you'd have to work for it because she's coming in as a 0. But yeah, I guess they could do a lot of fun stuff with it. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. So, Crane, disdainful remark, a event card, cost 1, keeper role only. So that is not eligible. Is that correct?
Unplayable in Crane.
Unplayable
Correct.
in Crane unless you're playing casual. During a conflict, if you control a participating courtier, until the end of the conflict, the attacked province gets plus X strength. X is equal to the number of cards in your opponent's hand. And it does have 1 influence, so it is splashable to some of the keepers. Do you think this will see some play splashed, Baz?
Yeah, it looks like it could be a fun splash for Phoenix, maybe, possibly Crab or Keeper as well. I mean, at only 1 splash. Oh no, it's Courtier, so you're just looking at Phoenix really. At 1 splash, it's you can slot it in if you're playing Crane, and because Crane is certainly an option for Phoenix, you can. There are, because the Phoenix are actually decent at honoring up. There are a couple of options in the Crane toolbox that are quite good. Yeah, and you're probably going to get maybe 4 province strength out of it, which if Phoenix can defend with a courtier, play a disdainful remark, and then move out, save the province, and then display a power, that's probably a lot of expense, but sounds pretty fun.
Justin, would you see this Phoenix splashable?
Yeah, I'm a little reticent about making any proclamations at the moment until we see the rest of the cards in the cycle. I'm not as high on this card as I was when I first saw it. I think it's a fine card. It's decent. It'll save provinces, but it's not going to help you nullify conflict. So rings are still going to go through. So this actually has quite a specific niche. So it's I suppose its niche really is in a high tempo province swapping situation, or if you are playing just a hyper defensive deck that just wants to last for as long as it possibly can. So the immediate deck type that suggests itself there is Dishonor, but I'm just not sure that that Phoenix would be splashing Crane in their Dishonor decks. So at the moment, I'm having a little bit of a hard time seeing where this actually fits.
Mm-hmm.
The effect is certainly powerful, but it's a lot more niche. I think that I just think it's a lot more niche than it first appears. Again, because in the old days, like saving a province saving a province is a good thing, but just the way the game is, the new 5R is structured, it's a lot less significant than it used to be, I think. So I don't know. As I said, I think it's fine, but I'm just not convinced about the card right now.
Yeah.
So.
Owen, anything to add on top of that?
What I will say is Crab might see some use of it, but we'd need 2 more courtiers in Clan first, and they need to be cheap courtiers, and then we might consider it. I mean, I'm happy for any defensive tech, because at the moment, offense is really favored, and there isn't a huge amount of... There's no equivalent card to Banzai, and this is the kind of equivalent card to Banzai, so it's nice to see that at least. But yeah, at the moment, I don't know who plays it. Maybe Phoenix can get some value out of it. They have a send home card on the keeper slot, don't they? Where they send home a guy, you send him but that's maybe, but I don't think so, not yet.
All right, let's keep on moving, and Owen, you can keep going with Doji Representative, a Crane Clan courtier, 3 cost, 1 military, 3 politics, 2 glory. During a conflict, move this character home.
Super good. Super good. If there's anyone you want to see, if there's anyone who's shameful display person, this is it. She's just a monster, because she can be in there, and if stuff is going south, she can pull out. The best play I got all weekend was out of a favourable ground, and just being able to pull guys out of a conflict, or just go, yep, okay, you got me beat, move out. And she's that in the stick, It's super good. It's super good.
Baz, how will that fit against sort of, I guess, what's competing in the Crane 3 slot?
Well, she's very similar to Kikita Asami. So another courtier, again, 1/3 for 3 with 2 glory. Yeah, but I guess the ability isn't quite the same. The Crane really are more looking at the 4 cost is where they're getting a lot of their love at the moment. The trees, you've got the Doji Challenger. Wow, okay, Doji Challenger is fantastic. The representative. We saw Kaizen isn't great. I'm not a particularly big fan of Kaizen, so any of the decks I put together. So I guess it's not a great selection. So yeah, the representative certainly does find a place. It is notable that the representative is able to attack, can outwit, and can for shame. And then once you've done your damage, then move out. That might mean surrendering a ring, but not losing province. But you have your character again. You can declare another attack with them. You can get a little bit more value out of it, which is really nice. It's a real shame that they don't have access to Disdainful Remark, because being able to defend with the Doji Representative, use Disdainful Remark, and then leave would have been very, very cool. But hey, that's something for the future.
Justin, any further thoughts?
Yeah, super card, absolutely superb card. It gives you additional resources and additional flex to use during a conflict. It gives your opponent additional decisions to make. You can force them into overcommitting resources to an attack and then just leave. So they achieve their goal, but you've bled them a bit for it. And as we've seen in games are won and lost on being able to bleed resources from an opponent, and she does that fantastically. I think she's superb.
Cool. Okay, and then we've got Sela of the Crane. 0 cost attachment, +0 military, +1 political, and the attached character gains the Crane clan symbol and the duelist trait, and this is 1 influence. So how is that going to be used? Anyone like to throw any hypothesis?
Yeah, it's going to be used for warming binders. It's just a terrible card right now. Again, you have to make you have to say, again, we haven't seen all of the unspoiled cards yet for the cycle, but really this does nothing that you're looking for at the moment. It's like the duelist trait has synergy with 1 event, I think we've seen,
Test of
but nothing
skill,
apart from that. Yeah, and giving people your clan trait has really, I suppose, just really has no. There are no immediate combos that suggest themselves, so the card just doesn't do remotely enough to earn a card slot. So for the time being, I think it's just binder fodder.
Yeah,
which is interesting because a 0 cost +2 political skill is considered by many a staple, but a 0 cost 1 political skill doesn't make the cut. Which I guess that makes perfect sense. We pretty much expecting this to be a template for all of the clan ones. 1 skill in one of the traits, a 0 cost, and then some sort of trait that is somehow significant to the clans. I don't think I understand how they see play. It doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah. Okay.
There might be some sort of story way of playing them. So you drop a conflict character. Oh no, you swear your own character as a crane. No, I don't know.
You just lay claim to neutral to unaligned characters. I don't know.
Yeah. If the dragon one gives the tattoo trait, I'll play 3 so I can tattoo everyone. But that's a different thing.
All right. Well then, let's move on to dragon. So Jade Masterpiece, another attachment, 1 cost, 1 political. It has the Jade trait. Action: bear this attachment, choose an unclaimed ring, move 1 fate from the chosen ring to another unclaimed ring, and continuing the Balance of the dragon to influence. Baz, do you want to start off on that? Is our
Yeah,
dragon?
it's kind of a cool one. I guess my initial thought is the first thing that you do with it is you would move one fate onto the ring that you're looking to declare straight away, and if you can, that'll mean you'll nab 2 on that particular one. So I guess there's an element of efficiency to it. It's 1 cost for 1 politics, so if you can grab that fate back immediately, it's kind of paying for itself, and then everything after that is a bonus. But yeah, the question is whether it's actually worth that. I mean, we were just talking about the Seal of the Crane being a 0/1 for 0. I know the Jade Masterpiece costs 1, and you're going to scoop some fate after it. But because it's bowing, you're just, and it's just a once per turn. First turn you have a 0/0/1. Now you are denying your opponent that fate, so that is something. And every time you do it on a further turn, it increases its significance. Feels a bit underwhelming, though. It looked very cool at an initial blush, but I'm not quite as enamored as I feel like I should be.
Do you think this will push out other cards in Dragon decks?
No, I don't think so. Not yet. There might be some greater fate manipulation setup down the line where this will be a component in it, but right now I'm not seeing it.
All right. Justin?
Oh yeah, much the same. It's a really neat idea. I really like the idea of it, but it seems like it's part of a different dragon archetype that exists outside the kind of Voltron item attachment paradigm. So I think it's one to watch. I mean, there are a few of the cards that we've seen that aren't in this pack that are hinting toward, well, not so much hinting toward, but I mean that are all about putting fate on rings and moving fate around and stuff like that. So it seems to be just a different dragon archetype. So we're, I think, probably assessing it while missing a huge amount of information that would allow us to make a much more informed decision. So it's a really cool idea. I really like the idea, but but for the time being, it's not going to make an impact on current Dragon decks for sure.
We do know that the Stone of Sorrows is playable by Dragon once it eventually gets released, because that's the Seeker card that was kind of up for grabs, and that prevents your opponent from claiming fate. So if you get your Stone of Sorrows down, you'll be able to consistently claim rings and get all the fate that are on it. If the stone's going to stay around, your fate will accumulate, and then the Jade Masterpiece ends up as a little bit of a hoover, because you're able to constantly move fate that's accumulating on one ring onto another, and because you're clearing 2 conflicts, you'll be able to essentially gain. I mean, it's still just an extra 1, but you'll be clearing a little off of the ones that are accumulating. But it's a piece in a later game, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just for a different archetype that we haven't seen enough of yet.
Okay. Owen, any thoughts on Jade Masterpiece that have not been spoken? We've sort of covered quite a bit.
No, not really. Sorry, I'm just keeping an ear out for announcements.
Yeah, we can. I'll maybe leave you be unless you want to chip in on anything specific.
Yeah, I'll throw in some stuff. Yep.
Cool. Okay, Kitsuki Yaruma, dragon character courtier. 4 cost, 2 military, 4 political, 2 glory. Courtesy. As a Kitsuki, he also has the no poison attachments sort of trait. Reaction. After this character enters play, choose an unbroken province and turn that province face down. Baz, do you want to lead off on that again?
The character ends up a little bit disjointed. I think if Yaruma wasn't unique or was a little bit cheaper, a little bit cheaper and not unique, would be an absolutely fantastic character. And by a little bit cheaper, maybe 3 costs with worse stats. The problem with being unique is the unique characters tend to stick around a lot longer. So the courtesy keyword's never going to trigger. And if you have your unique character in play, you're not able to play another one. So if you get Yuruma out, then you have a province that you need to flip. You cannot bring another one in until the one you have in play leaves. So the combination of that, the courtesy, the ability, and the uniqueness don't work with each other. So after that, you're as far as I can see, you're looking at a 2/4 for 4 and deciding whether that's actually worthwhile or not. It does help the courtiers within the dragon, but doesn't stretch it out. I don't like this character. I don't think this is actually going to see any play.
Okay, Justin, do you see this sort of changing the kind of province meta that we're seeing of having these sort of moving? I think seen a lot of decks moving away from these unrevealed provinces.
No, I don't think. Well, I mean, the thing is, this guy benefits those. I mean, he's meant to flip your own ones down, so you get a second use out of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, but I just I really don't see it. As Baz said, he's a bit of a jumble. He just doesn't do a lot. I mean, he'll see play if Dragon have a deck that really wants courtiers, because they're lacking for those at the moment. So another courtier would really kind of solidify the selection they have and make courtier playable cards very much more consistently playable for them. But outside that, like just assessing him in a vacuum, he's just not really a good character. 4/2 for 4 is super expensive, and when you compare him to basically the other 4 that you tend to see in other clans, like I mean, obviously Yunako is pretty much the gold standard there. But when you take a look at the Cooney Witch Hunter, who's also amazing, even the Fearsome Mystic, and this guy just looks terrible beside those. So I don't know. I mean, so for a dragon deck that desperately wants courtiers, I think he goes in that. But for anything else, I just don't see how he's good enough.
So I do have one thing additional to note on this, and I didn't realize this until John explained it to me, because it's a story background thing. Kitsuki Yuruma, his son was kidnapped by the Scorpion and raised as Bayushi Tokai. The Kitsuki have an immunity to poison, which is an inherited trait. And the Scorpion managed to maneuver Bayushi Tokai in the old story, not in this story, yet into place as the Emperor's food taster. And as Tokai was actually a Kitsuki, he was immune to poison, so the Scorpion were able to sneak poison into the Emperor's food as part of the coup. So Kitsuki Yuruma, coup confirmed.
That's a great bit of tidbit. Owen, did you want to say something there?
Yeah, just one thing. If you charge this guy into a province and flip it face down, the game breaks.
They have actually issued a ruling on it. I did see a 5 Rings DB talking about that just today. It looks like it immediately flips up again. Why? I'm not sure. I can only assume when they asked the designers, they needed an out. But apparently the province immediately flips back up again and would get a... Does it get an... It would get an opportunity for another reveal, presumably if the action hadn't been played already, or does it forget?
No, it'd forget, I think.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure under these rules, actually.
All right, more questions to ask. I guess that clarification didn't clarify anything.
All right, that's quite interesting. Okay. So let's look at Lion. Maybe just looking at time. Maybe I'll do the 3 of them, and then we can discuss the sort of 3 together. Okay, so we've got Gifted Tactician, Bushi Commander, 2 costs for 2 military, 1 political, and 1 glory. After this character wins a military conflict, draw a card. Then we have a holding, Hida District, unique holding, limit 1 per deck as well, +1 strength. Political conflicts cannot be declared against this Holdings Province. And then Time of War, which I think was seen previously. A Secret Roll only event for 0. After you lose a political conflict, choose a Bushi character you control, put a weapon attachment with printed cost 3 or lower into play from your hand or conflict discard pile, attached to that character. Influence cost 1. So let me just read that again so it's clear in my own head. After you lose a political conflict.
It's a terrible card. Don't do it. Don't do it yourself.
It doesn't deserve it.
We can save so much time by not saying anything about this card other than it's really bad and not right now.
Okay.
It's worse than that. It's actually worse than that. It actually calls everything into question. Like, it is that bad. It's
Peace out, guys.
Yeah.
Safe flight, Owen.
Oh, you got to go.
Yeah, fly safe.
Okay. See you soon.
Thanks for Owen for joining us from obviously not ideal situation. It was really good of him to get online.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is the overlay now messed up?
It's actually not been messed up, which is something of a shock.
Oh.
I think I actually have a backup for that as well, but let's not worry. Oh, now it's messed up.
Yay!
Hang on. Oh, look at that. Boom.
Pure professionalism.
Fixed. Had it ready. I was prepared. Okay, we're ignoring Time of War. Hida District. Justin.
Terrible. Yeah, garbage. I don't know why you would ever play this card. If it flips in a broken province, congratulations, you just cost yourself a Dynasty flip for absolutely nothing. If it doesn't flip in a specific, if it doesn't flip in a broken province, your opponent can't declare political attacks there. Well, they may not even want to declare political attacks there. Are you going to keep this this province in play turn after turn after turn? No, you're not, because this province is terrible. So, or this holding is terrible. So, no, unless there's something really blatant that I'm missing, it's just garbage. Just garbage to me.
There's always another province they can attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones where they. Yeah, I keep thinking it's a province. I'm like, could you put this in your stronghold? But no, it's a holding. Of course you can't.
It's a holding. It's a holding. It's just
literally no. Yeah, anyone who plays this deserves to lose.
There you go.
You can quote me in a year's time when this becomes the key card that breaks the game. Yeah.
When you lose to someone playing this card. And Gifted Tactician.
Superb.
Drawing cards, great.
Yeah.
It's superb. You will put this in your deck and not look back. It's a 2/1 for 2 that draws you a card when you win, and it's military conflicts, so you're going to win because you're Lion. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Every day, every Lion deck playing this card.
I would. Yeah, I can't see why you. I can't imagine why you wouldn't play this card. There would have to be really, really compelling circumstances not to play this card. It just seems like an automatic 3-of.
Will they keep playing more and more cheaper characters as more and more cheap characters come out? I mean, it really benefits the Swarm.
It does. It's the Swarm thing, but I mean, the thing is, this character, like, independent of whether or not Swarm is good or not, this character is just amazing for any deck, for anything. Like, it's just it's card draw.
I'm more wondering whether it ever competes for 2 slots, and then I'm like, they probably just get rid of some of the 5 slots.
Yeah. Well, they get rid of something that's more expensive and bad. Like a Coma AG or something like that. I know. I'm going to get back for that. But no, he's amazing. Absolutely stunning. So Lion get 2 garbage cards and 1 stun. He's just brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. Phoenix only got 1, but what a 1. I think we have discussed... Oh.
It's 2.
Oh, sorry, I missed it. It looked like a Scorpion card, but it's not. So let's talk about Asawa Kede. We've talked about her briefly previously. Maybe not briefly.
Yeah, we've talked about her actually at some length. She's amazing. She is but we've seen, I think, 3 new 5-cost characters, and she is by far the best of them. An absolute monster at every stage in the game. You're going to see an awful lot. Movement is going to become a really big thing for the Phoenix now, because she just has to be attacking. So, so favorable ground becomes all of a sudden way better for the Phoenix, because you can attack with her, win a conflict, void someone, then declare a second conflict, just favorable ground her into the conflict. Now she's attacking. so you can void someone again. And they're like, she's amazing with water, because you can now, because if she's in a water conflict, she can now remove a fate from someone and then bow them because they don't have any fate on them.
And just to clarify on that one, that is, if you get a conflict like that, it is whoever's the active player gets to decide.
Active player, yeah, but you're the attacking player. So, or actually, is it first player decides the order or the active player?
Let me find the exact quote. I have it written down here. K-Day, first player chooses order of effects.
Oh, okay. So that makes that slightly less good, which is probably for the best, to be honest.
Only half the time.
Yeah, but she's still monstrous. Yeah, and I mean things like charging her into a conflict. Again, like the whole thing, if you charge her into a conflict, she voids someone, then she goes home, you favorable ground her to the next one, you void someone, and then she goes away. It's ridiculous value. So I think she's superb. Yeah, she's really just amazing.
Okay. And Embrace the Void. Attachment, spell void, 0/0 for 0. You need Shigenja character. Interrupt when one or more fate would be removed from the attached character. Instead, move that fate to your fate pool. 2 influence.
Yeah, really interesting card. I suppose you would be expecting to get 2 fate from this on average, and 1 conflict card for 2 fate is like a really good deal. The question is whether whether the meta allows a card like this, because it is by nature a slow investment card, and the game is pretty fast at the moment. If we see better defensive and the tempo of the game slows a little bit, then this could become very good. My only concern would be that the tempo is too fast and remains too fast. So a card like this is just not good. It'll get you fate, but it just won't do enough in the time that it takes. It's got combos with things like Jade Tetsubo, where you could Tetsubo someone's character and steal all the fate in one go. I mean, again, because it's an interrupt. Yeah, because it's an interrupt effect, it can only go off once a turn. So you can't, for example, void a character with 2 fate on them and take 1, and then take another one in the fate phase. So you want to be so it's either a slow drip or you do something really spectacular like Jade Tetsubo someone and steal it all at once. I'm not sure what happens if you kill someone, if you assassinate a character, for example.
We did double check it, and it was confirmed that you'd get the fate, all of it.
Okay, that's really interesting, because that might open up cards like Noble Sacrifice and I Can Swim, or similar cards,
and it's
which allow you to
because
the character off.
It's an interrupt,
So it's a really interesting card, and yes, it's the kind of the Phoenix economy engine. We've seen sort of examples of the Dragon one with Jade Masterpiece, and this is the Phoenix counterpart. So interesting card. I definitely want to play this. I definitely want to play test this.
And a question from Matsu Sakura in chat. Do you think that we'll see people investing 3 fate on a 3 or 4 cost guy early on to get the return on investment?
I often do that anyway, so yes. if this card is good enough, and like you're opening, I mean, as I said, very frequently with Phoenix at the moment, I will buy a single 4-cost character with 3 fate on turn 1. And in those situations, absolutely, you would buy that character, slap this down straight away. So it's as I said, we'll just have to see how the meta falls out, because I think really the meta game determines how good a card like this is. But it's certainly very, very interesting.
What very, very I really want to do is I want to splash this with Consumed by 5 Fires. And basically drop it on one of their guides with 2 or 3 fate, play the 5-cost Consumed by 5 Fires, and then take that 2 or 3 fate back, but basically get rid of 3 or 4 fate hopefully 5 fate on their side. Now, obviously, if anyone ever tries cancelling this action, I will cry. There will be tears. But there's no action cancellation that I'm aware of in this game, so it should be fine.
Yeah.
It looks like a lot of fun. I really want to play that. And I think it's hilarious that the Phoenix are unable to play Consumed by Fire because they didn't choose power, Justin. They chose wisdom.
I know. Yeah, yeah.
Also, they chose the far
Phoenix clan.
They chose the far better card, so
yeah, they did. They did.
Okay. So after Phoenix, Scorpion. So we've got Meek Informant. 1 cost, zip military, 1 political, 0 glory. Reaction after you play this character. Look at an opponent's hand. Baz, what are your thoughts?
Well, I play with Katsuki Investigator, who is this ability plus. But being able to look at your opponent's hand is amazing for anyone who has an attention span larger than 5 seconds. So this isn't a card I'm going to be able to play. That does look really good. Knowing exactly what's out there makes a massive difference on how you play. Sometimes you look at your opponent's hand and you're like, yep, there's nothing I can do. I'm totally screwed. But at least you know that at that point. The problem with the Meek Informant is this is a zip military and 1 politics character. That's a problem because it loses some flexibility. If it was the other way around, 1 military and zip politics, I think it'd be a little bit more attractive for the Scorpion because they're already quite powerful in political. So, going for a big political, bowing out, and then having this 1 military that they can go over with would be very helpful. We've already seen that the 2 1-cost 1/1 conflict characters that are out there, so Crane have 1, Unicorn have 1, are very useful for exactly that. Just being able to drop a character in either type of conflict, have presence or not presence, have an opposed defender, and being able to sneak in for a sneaky conflict and win a ring when no one was expecting it because you were fully bowed out. I really like the Meek Informant, primarily because of the ability, but I can understand why players wouldn't be too happy because of the stats.
Yeah, and I think one of the issues with Scorpion and their conflict deck characters is that they're expensive at the moment, and a 1 cost feels a lot more playable all the time. Justin, this is 1 influence. Do you think people will play Splash Scorpion for this card?
Yeah, I could certainly see the use. I mean, finding out whether or not your opponent has a Forged Edict in their hand would certainly go a long way toward making the rest of your plays for the turn, much simpler. Yeah, to be honest, I think it's a really powerful card. I'm not as down on the 1 political. Obviously, that makes it less enticing for Scorpion, as Baz was saying, because they're already very, very strong politically, and a bit weak militarily. But again, like being able to get information from your opponent's hand and being able to plan out a turn, that's really, really powerful. I mean, it's a high skill tester, and you'll need a good memory. And obviously, if #alwaysbid5 is the mantra, then you could be trying to memorize or at least remember the significant cards in a hand of 12 or 14 cards, which which will test the best of us. But yeah, I mean, just super potent.
And 1 influence like this could splash really easily into any clan.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
I would, yeah, I think he's potentially really superb. Yeah, I mean, every deck would. I think most decks would love to have an effect like this in them. Certainly, I would. So yeah, information is power. I like him. I like him a lot.
All right, and then Smoke and Mirrors, an event and technique for 1 cost. Action during a conflict, choose any number of attacking shinobi characters you control. Move each chosen character home. So we're starting to see the early stages of a shinobi deck. This is 2 influence cost. Whether that's relevant or not, probably not.
So
I would
Like-
think so.
There's already a massive amount of incredibly powerful shinobi characters out there that's no one is playing because they haven't actually been able to find them.
Yeah.
There there's no deck. There's no deck.
Yeah. Later, at a future possibly relevant time. If there was a shinobi deck, would you like this card? Do you like that ability, the move dudes home?
Yes. Yeah.
For one cost?
Moving people home. Yeah, moving people home in this game is an incredible ability. Incredible ability.
We've seen it
and
used a lot with
being able-
Pitbull Train.
Yeah, and being able to move any number of people home, that's even better. Yeah, I really like the card. The deck isn't there right now, but when it does arrive, this is going to be very, very frustrating to play against.
Yeah, if you only think about it, I mean, it's applicable all over the place. But consider a army full of a shinobi attacking your strongholds. You defend with everyone. Their first action is smoke and mirrors.
Yeah,
You're dead as soon as they declare their next conflict. And there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah,
Attacking a stronghold,
yeah.
where you have to commit everybody to defend, or like you have to commit almost everybody to defend. They just go, nah, home. Yeah, it's grim business. It's a not great now, but watch this space for sure.
Could be a finisher.
Yeah.
Okay, so then on to Unicorn, Swift Magistrate, Bushi Imperial Magistrate. So we understand magistrates is a theme of the Imperial cycle.
Yep.
This guy is a 3-cost 2/2 with 1 glory. While this character is attacking, each other character that has 1 or more fate on it does not count its skill towards the resolution of this conflict. Baz. Feels like a tough one to assess without playing it a little bit.
Yeah. To get a better idea and it'll depend what clan you're facing up against, because different clans kind of end up with different amounts of fate on their characters. What it is it's a card that changes the nature of the game. It's no longer just about having skill to win a conflict, but it's about having no fate to do it, which is a bit strange. So cards like that, you have to be aware of them, and if they can be played at the right time, are incredibly good. Unfortunately, it does mean that any of your own characters that have fate aren't going to be as useful. So you're limiting yourself, but you get to choose when you're making that attack, and you're forcing your opponent into a difficult situation. You can also choose to defend with the Swift Magistrate, and in which case the trait isn't going to happen. It works well with charge, but it doesn't work well with cavalry reserves. Oh no, actually that's a lie.
It does.
Because you bring the other characters in, and then they don't have fate. Yeah, that's true.
But Not doesn't have cavalry himself,
despite
what artwork might lead you to believe.
Yes, really frustrating. Again, it looks like they're trying to work around the Unicorn strongholds, which is incredibly frustrating. It does mean the magistrate can be sent home, and unless there's some other shenanigans, cannot be moved in with the stronghold, which is quite frustrating. I think this is a good card. The stats are a bit poor. It isn't really working into any particular theme for the Unicorn. I guess it works well with the charge and cavalry reserves.
I mean, their straighten card. It works with their straighten card, which removes a fate from a character to straighten them. So I don't know. I mean,
the new Unicorn team is losing their fate.
Yeah, it could be just naked unicorn running around the place, all over the shop. Just no fate in them whatsoever. I mean, they have an awful lot of low-cost throwaway characters, so I think this character is a really good support piece for a blitz military deck. Just for pushing, through onto more defensive decks.
Yeah.
But yeah, time will tell on this one. I'm unsure. Unicorn have some characters they really desperately want to have lots and lots of fate on, like the trader specifically, and there are a couple of other characters they really want to keep around, but a lot of them they don't. So
Yeah.
And obviously, the synergy with cavalry reserves is pretty huge. Being able to run this character in, and then just go cavalry reserves and drop a whole bunch of force on the board. So a very interesting card. Very, very interesting card. Could potentially change the dynamics of the game when she hits the table. So yeah, overall, I like her. I like her for just the interesting situations that she's going to create on the board. Yeah. So yeah, all in all, pretty cool.
Windswept Yurt, holding with +1 strength. Sacrifice this holding. Select one. Each player gains 2 fate, or each player gains 2 honor. Refill this province face up. I like the word yurt. Do you like the word yurt, or indeed the card, Baz?
Yurts. I'm not a big fan of yurts. I'm really not sure what to think of the card. It is interesting. I mean, getting fate and honor is never a bad thing. Your opponent getting fate and honor can be a bad thing. Like, do you splash crab and play 3 rebuilds? Yeah. There's absolutely no reason for Unicorn not to play this at all. I know it is giving a bonus to your opponent, but it's something that you've got control over because you're able to choose fate or you're able to choose honor. And when it sacrifices, you get another refill straight away. So if for no other reason, it's thinning your deck. So you're going to see, it's not unique, is it? No, you're going to see 3 of these in every Unicorn deck ever because there's literally no reason not to run it. In theory, I guess you could honor run with it. Like you splash rebuilds, you pop all 6 essentially but then your opponent may win by honor as well.
Yeah.
So that's
just pray your opponent isn't lying because they've just won.
It makes it really difficult for any of the dishonor decks to dishonor out the unicorn. Like they'll just choose to get to 2 honor.
Yeah, and as IP is sort of saying in chat, unicorn are vulnerable to dishonor, so it does help them out in that respect.
And it was notable that one of the cards that Brad Zimmer chose to splash was the Honored Blade, and it looks like he was just doing it to be able to get a 2 point or a couple of bits of honor, just 1 point of honor each time he won a conflict, which I wasn't expecting, but in some of the games I was watching was pretty key. And then on the other side of it, it can get you fate. So there's kind of this really weird situation where if your opponent passes first during the fate phase to get fate, then you can pop this and are able to put more fate on your characters. I think it's a really good card. I really like this card a lot. It shores them up against dishonor, which is a big problem for them. It gives you all kinds of options in terms of just resource management, and like for example, just because we've just been talking about it, we've just been talking about cavalry reserves, and this gives you because with cavalry reserves, if you're gonna play that costs 3, so usually that turn you effectively have 4 fate to spend on characters. With this card, you effectively have you have 6 fate to spend on characters in the Dynasty phase, and you can still cavalry reserves on top of that. You can just pop this for 2, giving you 3, and away you go. So I think it's a superb card for Unicorn. I think it shores up a lot of their weaknesses. It helps to get cavalry reserves working faster than it otherwise would. While giving them, just more bodies on the board. So yeah, it's a thumbs up all the way around for me. I think it's fantastic.
Excellent. Okay, and then just a couple of neutral cards left. So Finger of Jade, neutral attachment.
Fucking dragon.
For I'll just read it out. So 1 cost 0/0. Interrupt. When the effects of a card ability that target's attached character would initiate, sacrifice this attachment to cancel those effects.
Yeah.
Action cancellation's pretty good.
Dragon's weakness currently is to big or to anything that can kill a big unit. Mark, during one of his later games, managed to get an icon swim against, from what I hear, was a fully loaded 3-face Yukuni, and that was a bad day for that particular dragon player. But getting those options is incredibly hard. Like, that's a lot of setup. And that, because of the way the decks were rolling, that may have been a Yukuni that was honored. So that may have required, because of the Phoenix Splash. With the Phoenix Splash, you're able to wear those pretty kimonos that honor you up, which makes it all the more hard for Scorpion to set up that kind of kill. So yeah, Finger of Jade being able to protect the Dragon Super Voltron units is fantastic. But it doesn't just do that. Like, it stops Mirumoto's Fury. It stops bow actions, send home actions. Like, it does everything. Yeah, it's really, really great. It doesn't stop Way of the Crab, and it doesn't stop court games, because it's a interrupt after it's targeted to cancel the effects. So if the effects involve the targeting, if the effects involve the choosing, it's already too late. But yeah, it does a lot of work, and it goes straight into the existing dragon decks as far as I can see. It's just a matter of what it pushes out. Other clans might play too.
Do you think this is too good, Justin? Is it gonna make Dragon unstoppable?
Yeah, I do. I'm not sure if it'll necessarily make Dragon unstoppable, but the designers have gone to the negation well way too early in this game. And once we see the next unaligned card as well, I'll start. Yeah, just makes things even worse. So this card is too good, and as good as this card is, it still does not compare even fractionally. It's still nowhere remotely as good as Forged Edict and Voice of Honor, which shows you what a problem those two cards are, and really how badly designed those two cards are. You want your decisions to matter, and if there's too much negation, then your decision-making capacities are negated at a deck-building stage, which is just a terrible, terrible dynamic to have built into a game. Because then you are automatically forced into including certain cards to try to combat the wave of negation, and any kind of proper strategy or strategizing really just collapses. It's just not possible. So I have to say I'm really not happy about this card whatsoever. I think the game was. I don't think the game was necessarily straining, but Forged Edict and Voice of Honor are both blights on the game, and this is another one. So yeah, I'm not happy about this card at all.
No,
I just don't see the justification for these cards in this game.
Flip side on this is this card is actually very similar to Above Question. So Above Question is one of the Crane cards. One cost 0/0.
I'm not a fan of Above Question either.
But yeah, well, no, Above Question doesn't get played as far as I can see. It is not as popular. Oh, really?
It's not as popular. Yeah, it does get played. It does get played. It's not as popular, but no.
So
I've seen.
For me, the significance is that Finger of Jade is neutral. So anyone can play Finger Jade. Like, compared to it, it doesn't. It stops more than just events, which really, really helps it. And it also is destroyed to cancel that effect. But yeah, I think it is still absolutely fantastic.
Will this be played by a lot of the clans? So you could see Phoenix with, I guess, K-Day and Sakune liking it a lot.
Yeah, Phoenix might. Yeah, they might. I think it's a shoe into Dragon. Other clans, Phoenix is probably the most likely. Just because, K-Day and Sakune are huge, but vulnerable. Well, I mean, K-Day less so, Tsukune more so. After that, I can't see crap really. They've got, I mean, maybe. I don't know. No, it's one of those things again. Like we're missing so much information that it's really hard to say what clans may or may not play this. I mean, Dragon for sure. After that, it depends really. But cards, I really hate seeing cards like this in a game because they take away meaningful decision making. And what they do is they increase the role of variance in a game. Do you have two meaningful actions that you can take here instead of one? And it's just much harder and much less likely for that to be the case at each juncture in the game. So yeah, not a fan of it. I mean, it's an incredible card. It's an incredible card, but I just hate the fact it's in the game.
Yeah. Okay, and then to finish up, we'll finish with the Shadowlands. Goblin Sneak. 2 costs, 1 military, dash political, 0 glory. After this character enters play, place 1 fate from an opponent's fate pool on it. And it is a 0 cost conflict character. Justin, do you have things to say?
So many things.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, I have lovely things to say. It says Shadowlands on it, so this is automatically the best card in the game, or none. It's this is the pinnacle to which all other cards in the game currently aspire. But now, once we get past that, okay, what this card does is it further emphasizes the vast gulf between a conflict card that costs 0 and a conflict card that costs 1 or more. And I'm just not a huge fan of this card, again, because it denies play. It denies play options to someone, and it's very, very hard. I mean, you can't see it coming. Someone can play this. I mean, you can plan your defense, and then someone can play this, and your defensive plans fall to tatters. Yeah. And again, as I said, the difference between a card that costs 0 fate and a card that costs 1 or more is already huge, and a card like this just makes that gulf even bigger. So, yeah, again, this is a card that I'm not a fan of conceptually. I think it's pretty cool and it's pretty neat, but certainly at the moment, without seeing it in play, and I haven't seen it in play yet, but at the moment, I would be concerned about how. It's never going to feel good to lose to this card. It's never. I mean, this is a denial card. I mean, there are control cards which are not great, but they're okay. But this is a flat out denial card, and those cards always feel awful. So, yeah.
Okay.
Just not a huge fan.
Baz, any thoughts?
I don't think it's quite that bad. If I play Rout and my opponent Forged Edicts it, I'm down the card and I'm down the fate. If my opponent plays Goblin Sneak, I can't play that Rout, but I still have the card. And in both cases, my opponent has played a card, but I'm actually up when the Goblin Sneak happens. The Goblin Sneak is a 1 zip with 0 glory for 2, so it's not offering a lot for its cost. Because it's managing to steal 1 fate, it will stick around. But to do that, my opponent is paying 2 to steal 1 fate to get a 1 military character for 2 turns. I think this is more relevant when it messes with the larger plays. So we were talking about how sometimes Unicorn want to try setup for cavalry reserves. So if they end their turn on 1, they pop their yurt to go to 3. You're looking at that gun. That's probably a cavalry reserves. They charge into the conflicts. Your first action is to drop a Goblin Sneak. All of a sudden, that's off the table for them. That's a card and a play that you made that's impacting what they can play. So I'm not seeing it so much as a denial, more so as a preemptive counter, if that makes sense. And that does make it quite strong at the right times. I like this. On consideration, I like the card a lot. I'm not sure I would play it though. I don't know. Like
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure either. I'm not sure if it's I'm not sure if it's good enough. But I really hate seeing effects like this come, in the game. I mean, but this is like when you take a look at the cards this is similar to. I mean, this isn't kind of in the same vein of cards like Display of Power, cards like Way of the Phoenix. They're asymmetrical effects that can have a completely disproportionate effect on the tempo and flow of the game. Because, I mean, going back to the example you were talking about, where the unicorn player goes over with their 3 fate, with their cavalry reserves. I mean, you play this and that negates that for the turn. Well, I mean, if negating it for a turn might not be a huge deal, or it might decide the outcome of the game completely right on the spot. I mean, that might be it. I mean, if the unicorn player is going in, like they're attacking your stronghold, they commit everything, and they require everything to take it, and you just go, nah, and then they just lose. And you can't see that coming. You can't really play around it or try to salvage anything from the situation. You just lose. And again, obviously this goes back. I mean, I also, going back to the whole idea of negation, like Forged Edict and Voice of Honor, which are cards that either needed significantly higher costs or to simply not be in the game. Okay, so yeah, John Bayushi Akai is asking, what level of cards doing things to hinder your opponent is Justin okay with? I am much happier with. I'm just
the orange colored ones.
I suppose. No, actually, I have to say the orange colored ones. Like I'm not a fan. Again, as card designs, I'm not a fan of Display of Power or Way of the Phoenix. I think I'm not a big fan of asymmetric effects like that. That's a tough question. I would be fine with. The thing is, the problem I have. No, it's not that. The problem I have is that those cards are currently vastly undercosted. Like Forged Edict is vastly undercosted. Voice of Honor is slightly better costed at the moment, but may in the long term turn out to be even more vastly undercosted. So, and again, you've got things like the Token of Jade, which on their own aren't so bad. But when you take them in the context of this card is protecting, and a huge character with a huge number of cards invested and a huge amount of fate invested, then all of a sudden, again, what it's returning, what it's actually doing for what you're paying is completely out of proportion. So I have no problem with cards that interfere or hinder an opponent as long as they're appropriately costed. And these cards are like there are quite a number of cards in the game at the moment that your opponent and can do enormous damage to your opponent and are not appropriately costed at all. So that's really the issue that I have. Like Sneak is really just more. It's just another one of those cards that is symptomatic of, I think, a larger problem at the moment, or at least certainly that could grow into a significant problem. Is that there's just a huge amount of negation in the game already. And I mean, is negation ever fun? It's. I mean, as a tactical concern, I'm all for it, but when negating something is easier and cheaper than playing than trying to do something active and trying to advance the game, then that's a real problem. And I think there are cards in the game that are already pushing in that direction. So that's my main concern. It's not the interference itself. It's simply the costing. Thing is completely askew, and yeah. So,
all right.
I don't know. That's my old man rant for the day, anyway.
Cool. Well, we'll wrap it up there, I think, before chat gangs up on Justin anymore.
Ooh. That's purely Dave and Dominic the proper question and Dave trolling. So that's
par for the course
for both of them. Pretty much.
Awesome. Okay, so that wraps up Tears of Amaterasu at a friendly local game store near you soon. I think that pretty much wraps up the show. Without Owen, do we have a beaver fact?
I do.
Oh,
I do.
Fee you. Could have,
now I'm not 100% sure if this was one that was covered before, because Owen has been pretty comprehensive in his beaver facts.
It's true.
But But the one I found was in relation to 1948, Idaho.
Ah, the old 1948 beaver thing.
All right, so this is new, right? I'm not rehashing old territory.
I don't think so. It doesn't ring any bells.
So apparently, in western Idaho in 1948, the human population was beginning to clash with a local beaver population. So the Department of Fish and Game decided that they would like to get these beavers and move them to a nearby protected area. But apparently the area where they were trying to get them to was in, I think it was like a caldera basin or something like that, and was pretty hard to actually get anyone or anything into. So what they ended up doing was getting surplus parachutes from the World War II military and dropping 76 beavers from planes. So 76 beavers skydived into the basin. And all but one survived. So 75 beavers skydived over the skies of western Idaho.
Is this because we talked last time about doing beaver fact or fiction? And I'm going to say this is fiction.
Well, this is what the internet has told me, and I assume everything on the internet is correct. So
that is historically true.
We'll cross-check this with Owen's comprehensive beaver book.
That is amazing. That's a good one. All right. Thanks to chat. Thanks to both of you guys for joining us. Thanks to Owen for doing so too. From
Chicago.
From Chicago. And yeah, we'll be back in a couple of weeks. There'll be more cards, more drama, I'm sure. In the meantime, and yeah. Bye bye.